So welcome everybody. Boris and I and Lionhawk and Jim all went to the HeartMath conference at the beginning of May. And these are my notes from the conference. So I'm going to just start off with something I'm going to read. Who's walking in the yard? Will somebody go in the back and see it? Maybe he thought he was in the back. Yeah. All right, so I think we're in great company today. I'm going to start off, well, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to start off with this one thing I want to read. Now, this didn't come from the conference, but it's from another discipline I've been studying, and I just thought it would be a great way to start off. And so I'm just going to read it to you. Getting centered is not a vague feeling, but a tangible shift in awareness. Placing your hand on your heart and grounding in benevolence isn't just a ritual. It's a recalibration of your nervous system to ensure it can receive clear signals and properly process those signals. So I wanted to start off with that quote because I feel like that summarizes a lot about what HeartMath is trying to teach us, is to get our signals clear and to regulate our nervous systems. So the title of the conference that we attended in May was called Love Unleashed. But my subtitle for this would have been Awareness, Our Secret Weapon, because a lot of the HeartMath is all about being aware and coming into awareness and then coming into intention. So again, you guys, this isn't a class. I'm not a HeartMath expert. I am certified in their coaching program, and I've attended their conference, and and I've read a few of their books, and I use their practice on clients and with myself. But having said that, again, this is not a class per se. This is really meant to be a discussion because I'm going to be reading from my notes. I invite y'all to just go on receive mode and process the words that you're hearing as poetry. Just allow yourself to soak it in and allow yourself to contemplate and allow yourself to offer up any questions, interrupt me. If you have some concept that comes, it can be a discussion. It's not like I have an agenda other than I want to get through all the notes. But let me just give you a little background on HeartMath. Is for those of you who aren't. Yes, dear. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'd like to start off with a HeartMath technique for everybody.
Okay.
The right
Let me get through my intro.
Okay.
And I love that. Thank you. Perfect. So I just wanted to explain because a few of you don't know that much about HeartMath at all. So HeartMath started about over 30 years ago, and they just started to study the heart. They wanted to know what's up with the electromagnetic field. Does that have anything to do with anything other than just the biology of a heart pumping blood? So they didn't discover this. This was actually discovered after the turn of the century, that the heart has a brain. It has a collections of neurons that function as a brain. I think it's very important, at least when I first learned that, because I think of the only brain as being up here. And in our modern day, that's where we're all on So it's important to know that we have a brain in our heart. HeartMath discovered, as through all of their studies, that, and they can track it, that more information goes from your heart up to your head than vice versa. There's not a lot going on up here. It's kind of like a computer software just running its loops. But this is taking in information up to 3 to 4 feet out, all around your body. And it's not taking in words, but it's sense. So it's really, your heart is seeing into the unseen world. So one of the main tenets of HeartMath is heart coherence, because what they found with this information going from your heart to your head was that even though the heart was generating all this information, it wasn't making it up to the head. And we're kind of like stuck in our loop and stressing out and doing whatever we're doing. And the heart has all this wisdom, all this intelligence, all this information that it's gathering to give us these subtle pieces of information that are vital to lovingly give to the brain, so that the brain can then process it and bring it into action and act on it. So what they found is that we are mostly like being incoherent, which means that there is a block. So they invented this device, and you can download it for free on your smartphone. And now you don't even have to hook anything up. You just put your finger on your camera on the back of it, and it sits there and tracks your heart rhythm. And they even have little apps where they talk you through it if you want or not. So we'll tell you what your heart variability rate is. And they've found very simply, and Jim's going to lead us into one in just a second. They found very simple that, number one, tune into your heart. Number two, slow your breath down, breathe a little deeper than normal. Imagine that you could breathe in and out of your heart, however that shows up for you. You might imagine that you're breathing in like this, or you might imagine. So the idea in my mind is that we're bringing our consciousness from here to here. And so the next step is to think of one thing that you feel sincerely appreciative of. And I think of something that's touched my heart at some point, something I love, like my dog. That'll get me every time. But to think of something that you really love, that you're really sincerely appreciative, and just allow that for a few minutes as you're slowing your breath down, as you're breathing a little deeper. And that's what gets us into coherence. That's when the waves go from being all jagged like that to sine waves like that. And Laura had asked about medication, and I would think your heart's doing what it's doing. Everyone's heart is different. So I wouldn't think that would have any impact on your ability to follow your coherent sine waves. So, but that would be a great question to ask HeartMath. But everyone has your own unique way. And when you're doing the HeartMath app, it kind of sets to what your level is. So if your level is at a certain point, you can set it for that, and then it will always measure for that, So I think it can be adjusted for that, but I would ask them. Okay, Jim, this would be a great time to start off with a short. All right, you can take off mute.
Yeah, very short. This is a technique called quick coherence. And you guys will get a lot of information today, but it's really very simple. First of all, you focus your attention on your heart, activate your heart, breathe into it. Breathe a little slower and deeper than usual. Step 3, activate a positive feeling, even a small one. It could be gratitude for a friend or a moment you enjoyed. It could be love. It could be a place. But what that does, it activates an emotion, and that's what travels from your heart to your brain. So that's it. Done.
Thank you. That was very perfect. And the the heart coherence is not meant to be this big long meditative thing where you're like and you've got to close your eyes and get all into it. You can, and that's great. But truly, HeartMath, when they invented the heart coherence procedure, it is meant to be done on the run. Like you're in a stressful board meeting or a meeting at, whatever. It's meant to just be able to sit there and be in your meeting and be slowing your breath down, thinking of something you're appreciative of, and to get into coherence in real time. Okay, I'm going to jump right in. Yes. Would this one work? Sure. And I've got plenty of pillows. Day one was a guy named Coot Blackson. And at this point, everybody's gotten all mixed up in my head, so I don't remember who did what. So it's a good thing I wrote it down. Coot Blackson presented on Becoming the Real You, a Journey to Inner Peace and Freedom. And so again, process this as poetry, folks, because some of them are just fragments. So aligning heart, mind, and emotions expands our natural, innate capacity for love, kindness, compassion, and care. So it's this idea of aligning your heart, your mind, your emotions, because I think a lot of times we're out of sync. And so it's just, again, bringing awareness. When we activate compassion in chaotic moments, we move from chaos to coherence, not just for ourselves, but for the field that we're all swimming in, for our world, and for the universe. And if I could have that booklet, I am going to do a little practice. So she was talking about moving from chaos to calm. And I've made a handout for everybody. I think everybody got it by email, and I've got them printed out over here. So this is called Moving from Chaos to Coherence. So you can all go through this with me, and you're welcome to close your eyes. So step one, slow down your breath and breathe a little deeper. And imagine that you could breathe in love. That you could breathe love and relax in the peace and warmth of your heart. On the in-breath, imagine breathing in divine love. On the out-breath, radiate love and care to all of your cells. In with divine love, and with the out-breath, radiating that love and care to all your cells. As you feel your energy calming, softly radiate love and peace into the environment to help you find a deeper level of ease and flow in your interactions. Now, with feeling, see yourself putting out gratitude, maintain your personal balance. Now see people across the planet increasing their heart coherence by practicing more care, kindness, and compassion to help manage their energies, reduce separation, and create a momentum for love to go viral. Let's close by radiating our deepest care and compassion to all people around the world suffering from fear, anxiety, and trauma due to wars, displacement, natural disasters, and other stressors as your heart guides you. I'll go on with the notes. Nature is necessarily in coherence. In nature, there is order, stability, and harmony. That there is an order to nature, and we are nature. I think the way our culture is we feel separate from nature. And so this is a reminder that we are part of the order and the harmony and the stability of nature, and that it is, I would say, our obligation to get aligned with that, to get in order with that, to bring that congruence in, to get congruent with our true nature, align with Earth's natural coherent fields. The heart wave not only affects our nervous system, but affects nervous system of other people and animals. So everything we do to ourselves, we're doing to our field around us and to the nervous systems of all around us, whether it's calming or whether it's chaotic. The heart signals the brain and body to tune into the heart, not the head. Our heart rhythms affect how we think and feel, but how we think and feel affects our heart rhythms. So it's a figure eight, we go back and forth. And I did want to talk a little bit about some neuroscience, and this is coming from a non-neuroscience person. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to talk about the brain. I know so very little, but one of my teachers, Sarah Payton, explained it like this, and I really love this. So like to look at the fist as the brain, and the front part is the prefrontal cortex. And let me look at my notes here. So the prefrontal cortex is the decision-making, emotional control. Okay, so like things are happening, you're realizing something's happening, you're making a decision, it's getting processed, all is well. You're a functioning person, right? So what can happen for us when we're not in coherence, or if like a trauma comes, is that it's like the prefrontal cortex kind of gets scrambled, and you think of it like as becoming not with as much integrity, so that there's all this space, and inside, like where I've got my thumb, that's representing the amygdala. Okay, so the amygdala is like the lizard part of the brain, and that's the part of the brain where you've got the fight or flight or freeze, and then the new one they have is fawn. You sort of fawn. So that's when you're in trauma and you're like wanting to fight, run away, or whatever. And so when our prefrontal cortex gets compromised like that, we start acting like this. Okay, so what they're saying is that practicing coherence really supports the integrity of the prefrontal cortex. All right, and we've already talked about the global. Oh, let's see. So, am I getting this mixed up? So we've talked about the coherence app. They also have a global coherence app, and that's like a whole group of people, and that's a different thing, and it's a different app. And I'll save that for later. I don't know why I have that here. It might be a typo. Okay. Oh, did I put it back on? Am I recording? Oh, good, I am. Good. Okay. Okay. To just so we're talking about when decisions are hitting you or a situation is hitting you, and you have to discern what next step to take, what action to take. They've got a wonderful little power of pause, which is actually I think I sent it to everybody, and I've got handouts for you guys here. It's called the power of pause, and the power of pause is very similar like what we just did. So you would just breathe into your heart, and by activating a heart frequency such as love, peace, gratitude, we increase coherence, and we can ask the heart's intelligence for our next step. Instead of coming into the brain where it may want to go on fight or flight, we're asking the heart. We come back to the heart because the heart is so wise and would be able to gently guide the brain to get coherent and to get that information up to the brain so we can make a wise decision, take the next step of action that needs to be taken. So it's saying like, do you have a question or something that is stumping you? And just noticing that the brain has a desperate need for solutions that the mind alone cannot deliver without the heart. So the power of pause is meant to be done before taking action you might regret. So let's do a power of pause. And these things are very quick, so it's not like it takes up a lot of time. So the power of pause is an inner stillness coherence. So as always, breathe into your heart. Slow your breath down just a bit. Breathe a little deeper than you normally do. And as you breathe quietly, imagine your breath calmly slowing down. Imagine it calmly slowing down the vibration of your mental and emotional energy. You might imagine that everything is going in slow motion. Stay with it, and don't care if your mind disrupts you. This will improve quickly with patience and practice. As you feel your energy calming, softly radiate love and peace into your inner environment. This connects you with your heart energy. While maintaining your state of calmness, ask your heart for guidance. Ask your heart for guidance, solutions, or a deeper understanding regarding life issues you are experiencing. Imagine stillness as a peaceful place in which you're sitting. If thoughts do come, don't push up against them. Casually refocus on breathing love and peace into stillness. Our higher choices become more obvious as we increase our capacity to listen in stillness to our heart's intelligent guidance. mention to you that the heart may not convey to you the information in words or in commands, but as a concept, as a sense, a feeling or an intuition. Take a nice breath. And I'll continue with the notes here. Then Coot brought up the question, and this is a great one to constantly be asking ourselves, what are you feeding the field? Because our heart is like a radio transmitter. And he posed the question, how do you live love? Not think, not want, not meditate, but live. How do you live love? And are you loving fully in your life? And if not, why not? And where are we withholding? And think of giving love who you are as opposed to looking for what life gives you. So think of giving life who you are as opposed to looking for what life gives you. And then he went in to talk about the levels of love. I don't know if any of you all have any comments about or more information, because this was kind of new to me, but he said like there's 5 levels of love. The first level, and I think it kind of goes along with like maybe Maslow's hierarchy, but so the 5 levels of love, the number 1 is needing something to be. I need you to love me, right? Or something like that, that you need something in order for there to be love. The second one was transactional. Well, if you give me this, I'll give you that. And I love you. I love you if you give me that. So it's transactional. And there's a trade involved. The third level of love was preference. So it's discerning or withholding or giving conditionally. And the fourth level of love was presence. And this is a state that we come in and out of because we can always be triggered. But I guess coming into a state of presence is perhaps a cleaner place after you're kind of evolving past these other ones. And then the 5th level of love was beingness. Love as beingness, and it's unconditional. And I guess that's the 5th level of love, is just to be there. We're not having any conditions or anything. Love forces you to expand. So it is not always pleasurable. And I'm glad she brought that up, and she didn't go in detail about this, but I think all of us, we're pretty wise people here, we all know love isn't just that happy, everything's so good, the spiritual bypassing kind of love. That love can be very challenging. That love teaches us to have boundaries. That love can be fierce at times, when you're fiercely loving and maybe protecting your children from harm or something like that. So love is more complicated than I think this idea that we have. Love is multifaceted. And that's why she's saying it's not always pleasurable. So then she says, love unleashed, no leash, insist on love. Love is not just a feeling, but a decision. Be, not theory, action. And then self-love. So I know for myself, I will say, I'm great at loving other people. Or at least I try to be. It's really something I love to do. It makes me feel so good. but am I really practicing self-love? Am I really being kind and compassionate and being careful with this being that I am? And she talked about the self-love, and she asks, where are you dropping bombs inside yourself? So I'm going to take this time to have just a little break and let people get something to drink, and we'll come back in a second. Okay, so then the next speaker up was Roland McCready. Now he's one of the founders, I believe, of HeartMath. Let's see. Yeah, I think there was only one guy there that was a founder. Doc Childra was not there. He is like the, I think, beginning founder. But anyway, Roland McCready's been there forever. And he got up to speak, a really nice guy. And he spoke about resonant fields and lifting collective consciousness, which is what you guys were just talking about. Our vibration is expressed through thoughts and actions. So I just want to think about that for a minute. That our vibration, I mean, I think it expresses in a million of ways, but through our thoughts, even our thoughts can be expressed in our vibration. Our vibration is expressed through our thoughts. The heart field affects every cell and extends out, affecting those we come in contact with. And again, repeating that our nervous system receives others as well. So we're bathing people with our field, and we are being bathed with their field. And our heart is feeling all of that. Our heart is exchanging information with the other hearts we come in contact. And again, talking about how the act of coherence facilitates brain function, and how incoherence inhibits brain function. And then he talked about the 3 types of intuition. There's implicit knowledge, and that's like memory, like knowledge that you have in your memory banks, and you know how to do it, but you don't really recall how you learned it. Might be something like riding a bike, tying your shoes, that kind of thing. It's just, you just do it. It's sort of automatic. That's implicit knowledge, and that's a type of intuition. The next type of intuition is energetic sensitivity. And that's where we're feeling into the environment, and we're picking up subtle emotional, environmental, and spiritual shifts that are invisible to the physical senses. So I would say, yeah, invisible, that are invisible to the physical senses, i.e. our eyes mostly, and our ears. So it'd be beyond, yeah. No, they did not start off with trees. They've done a 7-year study on trees, but they only started that about 5 years ago. Well, I could be wrong.
Not just you.
And we will get into the tree thing a little bit later. And yes, so because everything is sentient, right? I mean, that's the idea that that those of us who are spiritual, right? We have a tendency to say like, yeah, everything has sentience. Well, science is on hold with that. Science is like, well, you got to prove it. So Laura is bringing up that trees, that HeartMath has been doing a 7-year study on trees, and it's showing that they're able to prove through measurable ways the sentience and the communication. And there have been other studies on plants showing that there's sentience in plants, that there's thought, that there's decision making in plants. So this is stuff that sages and mystics have known since the beginning of time, but science, has really tried to cram down our throats that we're not supposed to believe in anything unless we can prove it, Well, we can't prove gravity, can we? Right? But I think there's such a thing as gravity, and yet they can't prove it. There's no theory. They haven't come up with a theory of gravity. So And then the next intuition is non-local. And last month, Laura Kaplan, who's here with us, did her spiritual salon on asking, have you ever had anything that happened to you that you couldn't explain? That's non-local intuition. Non-local intuition is you can't explain it. It does not rely on pattern recognition. It's like a parent who senses something. Oh, I feel like something's going, my daughter who's in on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. I feel like I better call her right now. Uh-huh. And so that would be called non-local intuition. And that was what we did the spiritual salon on last month. And it was so much fun to gather with a small group. And there's really not an agenda. We just talk about spiritual stuff. I love it. And we talked about non-local intuition last month, and everybody had some really amazing stories to tell. So then he goes on to say synchronicities and intuition increase with coherence. You know, so as we're getting into that heart-brain coherence, our synchronicities and intuitions, things start happening. And I may be speaking fast because, you know, like I'm doing this. So if I'm speaking too rapidly, you want me to slow down? And I invite you also, raise your hand and interrupt me if you have a question or you want to like insert in a comment. Okay, now we're moving on to the next speaker. And his name is Nachum Plonka. What a name, huh? He is the principal data scientist at HeartMath. So it was very cool to hear from the actual scientist who's doing the studies. And there's a little bit to talk about here, but I'll read my notes here. The Earth, he says, the Earth is constantly bathed in electromagnetic fields. Now, when he's saying that, I don't know if he's talking about the Schumann resonances or what, but that we're constantly bathed in electromagnetic fields, as our heart also generates that electromagnetic field. And he was talking about hertzes, and we all know about what's that kind of music called? Where you do the different hertzes, and it gets you into contrainment with your heart and your intuition, and but not biorhythm, but anyway, so we're all having a senior moment here. I totally know what it is. I can't think of it, but it's the kind of music that has the pulsing. And so it's got, and so he was talking about 0.1 hertz is the most common frequency among humans. And even small coherently connected groups can affect global coherence. And this is where I want to mention McTaggart. We talked about her earlier. Lynn McTaggart wrote a book called The Eight many, many years ago. And she has been doing studies just, you know, like HeartMath is also proving that a small group can have an effect across the world on another group. So that this energy is traveling, that we really are one. We are all in this field together. And he was just saying, even a small coherently connected group can affect global coherence. Thank you, binaural beats. That's what we were, didn't think of it. Thank you so much, Laura. Okay, and here we are with the trees. Trees generate electricity as we do. We generate electricity. So do they. So they started doing this test on trees where they put a monitor on it to sense how much electricity it was generating, right? And then he was talking about, I'll get back to that. I want to continue with my notes here. A walk in the woods bathes us in trees' natural energies. So when we talk about forest bathing, this is for real. You really are. He's talking about that the trees elicit this or generate this electricity, and that it bathes us as we're walking.
I'm sorry. Can I say something? I hear the trees absorb the old energy from the humans
Oh.
I don't know it's true or not.
So Flora is saying
Yeah.
she's heard
So-
that trees
so the
absorb
humans- and then it's like-
humans' energies.
Yeah, so trees absorb the positive or negative from you, from the,
Oh.
from the people.
Yeah.
And then they say the trees, when they don't absorb the energy from us, they look sad, weak. The trees that.
Wow. So trees are like our companions, like
They-
absorbing our
exactly.
energies and like
Yeah,
taking in what we have and transforming. I mean, and that's what like they do with our breath as we breathe out, they're breathing in and converting our carbon dioxide into oxygen. So sure. Okay. Laura's going to tell a story. All right, go for it.
Well, I'm president of this organization, it's a nonprofit, and we care for, this organization had over 400 trees in our neighborhood many years ago. And they're all grown up beautiful trees, but a lot of them we've lost. Anyway, we don't have a big active role in caring for them, but we manage a couple of parks. And there are street trees in our neighborhood. There's a main street that has a large oak that was planted many years ago at every intersection of about several blocks. And the arborist has told us how the fact that they're in this kind of busy environment and they've been worked on the roads, that they're not going to last. And so we've been trying to get them saved, and one of them recently died. We watched it decline, and a couple of the others we've seen are declining, but there's one that's really thriving. And it just happens to be the one at the end of my block where there's a woman who lives on that corner who goes out there and gives it love and attention
Wow.
constantly. She has planted, she has lovingly cared for the tree and all that stuff around there. She's a real plant person. And I never even thought so much about it until recently, why that tree amongst all the others is thriving.
Isn't that
And it's-
something?
No, it's because of her.
God, the power of love. Wow. Thanks for sharing that story. And so they are doing this study. It's called treerhythms.net. And HeartMath, new technology that reads the electrical signals in trees. And yes, they brought out the study while we were at the conference that the voltage of the tree increased when a group sent love to the tree. So what we feed the field matters.
they absorb the all
Okay, then he said new research suggests that Earth's magnetic fields carry biologically relevant information that connects all living systems and helps to synchronize, energize, and support the interconnection of all systems. We are one organism. So then he started talking about random number generators. So it got a little technical, but this is such a cool thing. So random number generators are like when you roll a dice. Apparently, we are told that if you roll the dice enough times that it's 50% what comes up. Like let's say if you're doing 1 in 10, 1 in 10, 1 in 10, that over time, that the odds that you'll get a 1 or a 10 is about, less or take, 50%. And you can do this with any kind of random throwing of something like that. If you throw it enough times, if you want to know, am I going to get a 1 more of the time or 10 more, it's always going to be about 50%. This has been like supposedly proven over time in the scientific community, right? And I think professional gamblers, they put a spin on this. Well, I'll get to that. So anyway, these random number generators, I don't know exactly how they work, but like I guess they put numbers and then they have a computer that just generates them randomly. And it's no surprise that it's about 50% one or 50% of the other. That's how it works. So what they started to do is to strategically put these random number generators at different places on the earth. I think they've got them on like 5 continents around the world. And they're measuring them all the time. They've got them hooked up so they can see what the numbers are. When they started to generate coherence and love to any one of them with a group of people, the numbers started getting wonky. And it stopped being, it would either give you a whole bunch of tens and it would just be tens, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, or it'd go down to 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But it stopped being 50-50. They started generating, and that shouldn't happen. And so that was a piece of science that HeartMath has been putting out and getting published in scientific journals, that shouldn't happen. That when I send love to that tree should not generate more, not to the science community. The science community is going to say, no, that shouldn't happen because you can't prove it. So HeartMath is going about proving these things. So that was pretty rocking. I don't remember, and it wasn't a lot. I mean, it wasn't like 200 people, or it was sort of like a small group of people sending it to a specific random number generator, like in Norway or something. I've forgotten the countries that they have them in, but they're working hard to really make it measurable and to do blind studies and to do, like placebos and that, so that they can like make it provable. So they're pretty excited about this. And he ended by saying, love is never wasted.
Maureen,
All right. We're on day 2 now. Yes, Jim.
you can think of those random number generators. It's like flipping a coin.
Exactly.
Computers work on zeros and ones,
Okay.
randomly flips them around. But if there's a global event, they measure that globally, the change in the coherence of the nation, of the whole world. They measured it after Baltimore won the World Series. They did another measurement when Gaza was attacked. I think it was October 7th. There's a big spike. So,
So it can be bad things too. That's right.
oh yeah.
And it wasn't one and
Everything
two,
affects
it
the
was
field.
0 and 1. You're right. 0 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that? Yeah. So the field is feeling all of this. What the humans' emotions are experiencing, the field, it's coming out on the field, and we're measuring it. The trees are feeling it, for God's sakes. The earth is feeling it. So it's just really, I'm loving HeartMath for bringing this into science and really trying so hard to make it measurable and put money into the science part of it so that it's just not all poo-pooed and, oh, well, that's just pseudoscience. Okay, day number 2 was a person named Nippon Nepta, and she talked about from absence to presence and from presence to regeneration. So she says, thinking makes us intelligent alone. Awareness makes us intelligent together. Love that. I just wrote this down randomly. Deepen your channels. And what pattern do we want to make as humanity? And I just want to insert here, like on, our Monday night meditations and the work that all of us do whenever we're doing it, that when we're doing that work, sure, it feels great for us and we do it for us, but do not doubt that energy is emanating out and that we are regenerating the field, that we are joining with other fields, and we're attuning and synchronizing with those other fields, and 1 + 1 = 3. So we're creating synergy, and that this is one of the secret weapons to change our world, to transform our world from chaos to coherence. Yeah. So what patterns do we want to make as humanity? Oh, and then she brought up a quote by Mother Teresa, who said, there are multiple forms of poverty. And she was getting at, spiritual poverty, right? That it's not just, do you have enough shelter or food to eat? That there's other ways to suffer and be in terrible poverty. And just as there are multiple forms of poverty, there are multiple forms of wealth, nature, compassion, community, time, knowledge, culture, creativity, giving. Wealth is not just about money, obviously. Identify forms of wealth that are most abundant in your life. Okay, read that again. Identify the forms of wealth that are most abundant in your life and highlight one that has impacted your life in unsuspecting ways. So, would you guys like to do a little breakout and ask that question? Identify a form of wealth that is most abundant in your life, and highlight one that has impacted your life in an unsuspecting way. I don't know. Does that feel like we want to maybe do that in groups of two? Let's see, we got 1, 2, me and you. Oh, you guys can go together. Okay, because I can do is put you guys in rooms. Let me see if I can do this. I'm gonna pause the recording. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so I thought it'd be fun for you guys to have a little breakout there. So then Nippon went on to say that everyone is good at something.
Are you recording?
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, it's recording. Everyone is good at something. Everyone has something to give. As giving gets committed, new fields become open. And everyone is connected to everything. So I'm going to repeat that. Everyone is good at something. Everyone has something to give. And as giving gets committed, new fields become open. Everyone is connected to everything. So, this is another one that maybe we'll just go around on this one rather than do a breakout, but I love this one myself. It was said, share your earliest memory of realizing that suffering of others mattered to you. And then share the most recent act of kindness you have received. Yeah, so if anybody would like to, you don't have to, but if something comes up for you of an early memory of maybe your earliest memory of realizing that suffering of others mattered to you, feel free to share it. I'll share the earliest memory. I mean, I've probably had it before then, maybe with an animal or something. But I remember I was very young and I was watching the crucifixion of Jesus. And oh my God, it was so brutal. And I was watching the TV and I was just crying and crying. And so that's like my earliest memory of realizing that the suffering of somebody else mattered to me.
How about your recent act of kindness that you
Oh.
received?
This one here.
No.
Yeah. Laura, what was your earliest memory?
Oh, I just have them very, very strong. I focused on it for years, and this little boy whispered to me that he liked me. And I thought he was so cute, and I really had a crush on him. And I was probably in first grade. But that was embarrassing to me that he said that, so I laughed at him. And he got this.
Maurine, we can't hear.
And I just, it hurt me for years to remember that I had caused that crushed.
So she was in first grade and, gotta get this plugged in before the computer goes off. She was in first grade and this little boy had a crush on her and she had a crush on him too. But, and he turned to her and he said that he liked her. And she got all kind of flustered and was like, and thought that she should be embarrassed by that. So she laughed at him. And she could just see how he responded, and it hurt her then. And that was the first time she realized that the suffering of somebody else mattered to her. So, anybody else?
Well, it happened last 2 weeks ago. I'm on Instagram, and I connect also with my family from Chile there. And it was terrible because a father had the custody to see her daughter once a month on a Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so the poor, long story short, the poor little girl, they pick it up an hour later, and then they go and eat and they have lunch. He put it to bed to take a nap. He's 2.5 years old girl. And of course, she woke up, probably disoriented. Where am I? A little girl. Look at through the window and fall. And of course, he died. 2 and 7 months. And I was like, when you feel that thing on your chest, I was like, what? So of course, the next thing my niece said, what's going on? What happened? How could he? And he only had it once a month. From 10 to 6. And I was like, oh my God. And I said, what, regardless what happened to the person, he's going to live with that guilt for the rest of his life. And that's all.
That's all.
I killed my daughter.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Because I went, and he went to the next room to take a nap because he was hangover.
Sure.
And it hit me so bad that my chest hurt for like 2 or 3 days. When you
That's empathy.
we all have felt that feeling on your chest. That is good. Yeah, it was awful.
And does anybody want to share the most recent act of kindness you received?
Mike helped me with Grizzly. Boris was actively listening earlier when we had lunch. And you facilitating this. My earliest memory of, I'm sorry, what was the wording?
Of caring about somebody else's suffering.
Is seeing my mom heavily disappointed when I was a youngster.
Uh,
I think that was the first time I ever learned what disappointment looked and sounded and
Uh-huh.
felt like.
right,
And I was probably 4 or 5.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right,
That
right.
really just came out through here.
Yeah, seeing one of your parents is probably one of all of our earliest memories of caring whether somebody's suffering, no doubt. Okay, let's see. She said, in a gentle way, you can shake the way the most gentle act of kindness reverberates through the world. And if you already see yourself as kind to others, do inventory. How can you turn that into yourself? Yes. Jessica.
Jessica, suffering from lots of just.
So Laura's saying she's got an act of kindness going on presently because Jessica brought her water and moved her dog out of the room. She's allergic to dogs, so.
I've been having to move back and forth so much. I'm so sorry.
The consciousness field is reflecting back to us, not what we think in our minds, but what we truly feel in our hearts, shaping our lives. The consciousness field is reflecting back to us, not what we think in our minds, but what we truly feel in our hearts, and thus is shaping our lives. I guess she was talking about compassion and kindness brings peace in the face of stress, and it lowers stress in the face of stress, like as you're being faced with it, that it can do that. And that compassion, easier kindness to the outer world in challenging situations affords better outcomes. Okay. Okay. So it's like we want to tune into our intention and take your choice how you want to do this, and to be conscious of what is your personal vibration. And what is your personal vibration throughout the day? What is the quality of your thoughts? What are the quality of your feelings? And to think about what lowers your vibration. Thinking about, something you're worried about, is that going to lower your vibration? Yeah, I think so. Projecting, being negative, complaining, they're saying, and don't personalize it, just be objective. What lowers your vibration? And she came up with like 4 things that are known to lower your vibration. One is projections. So you're thinking ahead, like this is what's going to happen and that. And usually, so many times, worry is piggybacking onto that, because worrying is imagining something in the future that's going to go bad. And she came up with a funny quote by Mark Twain. I've had a lot of tragedies in my life, and at least half of them happened. So all these things that we imagine and worry about don't always come true. So all we're doing is lowering our vibration by projecting. The next way to lower your vibration is overcare, to become overly attached to an outcome. And put him in my room.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. One more time.
Overcare, being overly attached to the outcome. Okay. Like, oh, if this doesn't happen, this is what has to happen. Everything's hinged on it. And this is a very low vibration. And so this is versus regenerative care, like caring in a regenerative way. Complaining is another way to lower your vibration, and having biases and judgments is another low vibe activity. Okay, awareness brings all this to a generative state. So if we're just bringing awareness, we can see it, we can let it go, and we can choose the higher vibration of compassion, kindness, love. The other thing the heart does that the brain doesn't do real well, because it's kind of the masculine is here and the feminine is here, is the masculine is really good at fine-tuning and zeroing in on exactly what you want to focus in on, but it ain't very good at seeing the whole picture. It's not very good at getting, the holistic picture. The heart is really great at helping the brain let go of that narrow vision and to see a bigger picture. So that is bringing a generative state to something that you're going through, is to get that broader picture. And then versus, she said, what raises your vibration? Appreciation raises your vibration. Being super appreciative of whatever's going on is going to raise your whole vibration. Love, care, and compassion. And then having a positive outlook. And she used a term called turning up the edges. I never heard of it, but I'm thinking what she meant was like a silver lining. Like something happens and go, well, what's the upside of that? How can I turn up the edges to this thing that just happened? How can I look for what I'm learning from it instead of looking at the negative? And then one that she surprised me, she said neutrality. Okay, Annie, thank you. Neutrality is actually a high vibration, and I was surprised to hear that. But when I started to think about it, and this brings up David Weber, our friend David Weber, who we just lost, flow. Because if you're in neutrality, You're not one or the other. So to me, when you're in neutrality, you're like in more of a state of flow. You're just going with it, you know? So, yeah, so neutrality is a way to have a high vibration. And then to ask yourself, how am I not being heart aligned right now? What are we doing on time? This thing never tells me the time. What time is it? Anybody know?
It's about 20 minutes.
Oh, good.
14.
Oh, we're doing good. Okay, how am I not being aligned in my heart right now? And to notice patterns, emotional reactions to patterns, and how you feel from that reaction. And that you can like imagine that you've got a dial and you can just turn the dial to that higher vibration. Catch yourself, be aware, and turn the dial. Another thing she said was imagine emotions becoming still in the stillness. So it's kind of like the depth and then the depth and the depth. So becoming still in the stillness and then choose to install an uplifting or preferred feeling. Imagine breathing in the new feeling, the state of ease, and slow down the vibration rate of the mind and emotions so that the heart and intuition can weigh in. All right, so let me do appreciate, love, care, compassion, positive outlook, silver lining, and neutrality. Yeah. So let's do, what page is that on? I don't have it. So we'll just make one up. So let's do a still in the stillness and an ease one. So we'll go ahead and take the advantage of closing our eyes since we have the time and space to do so. And tune into your heart. Slow your breath down just a bit and breathe a little deeper. And I want you to imagine that you could breathe directly in and out of your heart. And really feel into the heart, the consciousness of the heart. And I want you to imagine a deep, serene stillness in the heart. And in that stillness, find the stillness within the stillness. Tune in to the feeling, the reaction that your heart may be sensing or feeling as you drop into the stillness of the stillness. Do you get a sense of expansion or a sense of contraction? Do you get a sense of ease? Just notice. And as you float on that wave of stillness and ease, bring in the feeling of appreciation, love, positivity, or even the concept of flow and neutrality. And just let that bathe over your heart. Let that open up the channel between your heart and your head. Really rejoice in your heart, being so thankful for your heart. And take a nice deep breath as we come out. The next talk was Joe Dispenza. And he talked about when hearts align, what our data reveals about love in action. So he talked about electron, that an electron field surrounds us all and exists beyond human senses. And so you're kind of getting a theme, you know, with a lot of the stuff you've heard with some of the other talks. They're all just saying the same thing in a different way, right? So that this electron field surrounds us and it exists beyond our human senses. And that the electromagnetism is the force that holds all material together. And that the field informs matter and that matter informs the field. So there's a field and matter interchange. So as form takes expression, it's informing the field. And as field is existing, it is impacting and informing matter. So he asked, what energy field are you inviting and aligning? This is a very good question that we need to bring our awareness to. So he said, the brain thinks, but the heart knows. And to withdraw attachment from material, physical, and connect with immaterial. And this is what creates coherence, is when we withdraw our attachment from the physical, the material, I would say the ego mind, the ego wants and desires, and connect with what's not material, connect with the energy, connect with the flow, connect with the field, connect with the heart. So here's a little practice we can do together. I think I had to kind of change it because the way I had it written didn't make sense. So just focus on your breath. Breathe a little deeper, slow down your breath. And just feel in to the field around you. The molecules all around you, there's an electromagnetic field. And you can actually hold your hands out in some way. And notice you can feel a tingling on the tips of your fingers or a different sensation in your hands. And imagine your hands being in this field and receiving that energy. Imagine that you can call in the highest vibration of love into your hands. And as you're doing that, breathe into your heart. And bring your hands to your heart and feel and let the energy flow. And let it absorb. Take a breath. Being grateful for whatever you experienced in that practice. We talked about small, coherently focused groups have a global impact, and we've already talked about that. The field, it's not the material, it's the conscious energy field. And, you know, we've heard about the work of Abraham Hicks, right? You guys are hip to that work. It's being a compatible match for what we're seeking. So if we're wanting happiness in our lives, that maybe if we start to breathe in appreciation for some small thing, you know, that's a vibration, and that then we become a vibrational match for happiness. If we're wanting love in our life, if we're wanting happiness or you're wanting something in your life, that we've got to raise our vibration to be a match, a compatible match for what it is we want, and that we entrain. And that's about all I got out of his. And now we move on to day 3. Her name was Malathi Muthu, and she's a PhD, and she talked about coherence is changing the world, what millions of heartbeats tell us. The heart is always generating an electromagnetic field about 3 to 4 feet out from your body. Now, when I hear that, I think aura, right? Well, auras don't exist, right? But okay, like in the you know, ancient traditions, they talked about auras. Well, and they were about 3 to 4 feet out from your body, right? And that's an aura. So that's this electromagnetic field that's coming out from your heart. It says that this electromagnetic field changes with every emotion, and that it is measurable and trainable. One of the studies that they did, some of you may have heard of this study, and they had these people all hooked up, you know, and they're measuring their heart and everything like that. And so they had them sit in front of a monitor that would spit out pictures, like, I don't know, like every 6 seconds, there would be a picture, you know, a picture of a flower, a picture of a waterfall, a picture of an animal growling, or, you know, just random, right? Okay. You know, and you see the picture of a mother holding a baby, and then they're measuring the heart, and, you know, they would see, you know, the heart would do whatever it would do when you would see a picture of a baby. You see a picture of a flower, you know, so the heart would do one thing. Then there would be a picture like of maybe a bloody knife, or, you know, they would put scary pictures, and then the heart would do something else. Maybe it would become more jagged, right? So they're just doing it, right? They're just doing it. They're doing it. And now these pictures that are coming on the monitor are completely random. They weren't organized in any way. The scientists just put it on complete random. After a while, what would happen? Before the picture came up, about a second before, the heart would already see it. The heart already saw it and was already reacting to it. Mother holding the baby, sweet. Here comes the picture. Then the picture before it gets there, you know, the bloody knife, the heart goes jagged. Their picture's not even on there yet. They're still looking at the picture of the hummingbird and that the heart's already going jagged. So already the heart is anticipating and seeing what's happening. We are all psychic. And this study that they did showed that they weren't, you're not seeing with your eye, you're seeing beyond. So, that the influences those next to us. Okay. Then he started talking about slowing the breath to as much as 6 breaths a minute. That would be like 0.1 hertz or to 0.4 hertz, and slower is more coherence. The slower the breath, the more the coherence. Again, try appreciating someone you love. And since emotions shape heart rhythms, and hearts have resonant effect globally, since emotions shapes heart rhythms, and heart have resonant effect globally. Sorry, you guys, some of my notes are cryptic. Our heart's rhythm and Earth's magnetic fields literally work together. Again, we are one, we are one. And then they talked a little bit about the Schumann resonances. And they talked about it as you could think of that Schumann resonance, which is the electromagnetic field around the Earth, which has got something to do with lightning or something. But anyway, the Schumann resonances, you can think of it as the heartbeat of the Earth. And it overlaps with our brain waves. And the magnetic field is affected, which affects our coherence. And so, let's see, is that when she started talking about like sunstorms or something like that? Like that we are affected by those. We were talking about those solar flares, and that we're going through one right now. I think I'm going to get it. Oh yeah, that's down here. Okay, I'll get to it. Okay, when we're in coherence, we are in tune with it, and the field supports and amplifies it. Earth's magnetic field is like a tuning fork, amplifying coherence. So I'm just going to read this. I got this off the internet. Research indicates a statistically significant bidirectional coupling between human heart coherence and Schumann resonances, primarily mediated by the heart's electromagnetic field. Studies, notably from the HeartMath Institute, show that fluctuations in the heart rate variability coherence correlate with variations in the geomagnetic and Schumann band power from 7.8 to 32 hertz, suggesting that the human heart acts as a macroscopic transducer that phase locks with planetary electromagnetic fields. Okay, I have no idea what I just read. But the Schumann resonance, it's something, scientists with the last name of Schumann discovered these fields, and they're around the Earth, and it has something to do with lightning, but they're saying that to think of it as like the heartbeat of the Earth, but that basically what I get from this quote is that there is a relationship between our heart rate variability and the heartbeat of what's going on Mother Earth. Kind of like what I imagine is like if you're a baby inside of the embryo, like we are inside of the embryo of Mother Earth. Of course, we're going to feel her. And of course, she's going to feel us. You know, that's what I think of. That's what I think this whole statement said. It's suggesting that the human heart acts as a macroscopic transducer. Don't know what that really means, but to me, it just kind of means there's some kind of a relationship, and that we are interlocked with the planetary electromagnetic fields. All right, now we get into the solar storms. What they cause depends on your state. You know, you hear people, oh, we're going through a solar storm, and that's why I'm all stressed out. Well, HeartMath is saying, yeah, solar storms do matter. You're going to feel it. But are you in it? If you're in an incoherent state, that they've done studies that people have more heart attacks when there's solar storms. Okay, and that if we get into coherence, they gave us the example of it's like you're out at sea without a sail. So if you're incoherent and you're having a solar storm, you're going to be that boat without a sail. You're going to be, and so they're saying use coherence. That's your sail. Now there's a solar storm. You just go with it. And there's a way that you can go through it and make your nervous system calm down, that's your sail, and you are the inflow. It carries you forward, and you're communicating with the planet. And your practice, They're saying your practice matters more than you think.
Like, for example, I think I'm getting it like full moon at the hospital. They were in delivery, it gets packed every full moon. We have 32 rooms and 32 rooms are packed, full moon. And then when you go to the ocean, because of the salt, it cleanses you because of the ions go before it breaks the waves and then,
Yeah.
you know. I think that's what I'm getting. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, because we're all in this rhythm.
Mhm.
And it's saying the more coherence that you use, you're like putting your sail up and you're catching the wind and you're going with it instead of being bounced around like a cork, you know, out in the ocean.
Like tonight's full moon. Going to affect them tonight. Going
Oh,
to
it's tonight a
affect
full
us.
moon?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
in Sagittarius.
I saw it.
The blue moon.
Yes.
Oh,
So we're saying we are connecting to something much larger. Data supports this with 10 million subjects, apparently 10 million subjects they've used, that proving that we are connected to something much larger. And he ended by saying, coherence is the language your heart uses to speak to the earth. Coherence is the language your heart uses to speak to the field. All right, and now, oh my God, we're on the last page, you guys. I did it.
We got last statement again.
The last statement was coherence is the language your heart uses to speak to the field. It's the language your heart uses to speak to the earth. All right, the last speaker was Maya Kogan, and her topic was the heart of discovery, and it's the citizen scientist movement. So, HeartMath is doing a global coherence initiative, and you can go onto their website, and that's like a separate thing, and they're asking for people to be involved in this global initiative for coherence. And she's saying, you know, we have an obligation to contribute to planetary resonance, and there is a need in the world. And that's really all I got out of that, because she was just more talking about how to get involved with this global coherence initiative. So the closing remarks. We are in a time of acceleration, and it can be both sides of the coin, you know, that there's a lot of chaos. There's also a lot of love. And just because you're seeing stuff on the media, that does not mean that's the majority of what's happening out there, okay? Because really, we have such a magnitude, such a plethora of love and peace all over this earth. So much goodwill, so many humans just living their lives, wanting peace, practicing love. We are the majority. And to don't get sucked into that negative thinking just from what you're watching on the news. Compassion is the highest frequency in the love spectrum. And it says, where do you draw the line on compassion? And so that's a good one, because can you still have compassion, you know, and be discerning, right? Because I think the heart would tell you that you need your wisdom, you do need some bias, I guess, or some judgment to love in clarity, but can you still have compassion? And then they talked about, oh, did I miss a page? No, it's here. They talked about oh, okay. Yeah, she even brought it up. Where do you draw the line on compassion? So, do you love Trump? You know, and everybody's like, oh, no, I hate Trump. You know, I hate him. And it's like, okay, cool. That's cool if you hate Trump. All right. What about his soul? Do you hate his soul? You know? And so there's a saying, where do you draw the line on compassion? And what is it doing to you? And what kind of vibration are you sending out there to be in this hate thing? And I really appreciated that they brought that up, because that's not a very popular topic, especially in California.
I might add to that.
I'm with you.
Don't we all?
What would you
You
add?
never know where I'm going. I just might add to that, I forgot where I was now.
The hate
Yeah, speaking of the
and
hatred.
compassion.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is if there are those kind of feelings present, you're judging. And you cannot have healing and judging at the same time.
You
can't-
cannot have
you
healing
can't have
and
healing
judging
and judging.
at the same time.
It's like wanting to, help somebody, but feeling that they're inferior to you, or that they're not as compassionate as you are, or that
Yeah,
they're
Yeah,
blind,
yeah.
blind to what's really happening, or, these are morons.
yeah, that would be drawing a line on your compassion.
You're throwing judgment out before you do anything. If you identify a person or group in a certain way that, because it conflicts with your notions, and so that you can't enter that orb of healing, let's say, if you're carrying the load of judgment, or judgmentalism, I should say, not judgment, just judgmentalism. And so the first thing is not to have compassion, but the first thing is to clear yourself in moving towards compassion.
Beautiful. Yay.
And I say, yes, it is very possible to have compassion at this thing. I think it's very important.
So, and Laura's reiterating that it's very important to have discernment and compassion.
So I believe, like, having compassion is, yeah, I'm interested in not just the Trump thing, but I'm in a relationship right now with a situation where I have total compassion for the person who is doing things to attack me and hurt herself. I have great compassion, but I also have the discernment to know that I have to take right action, like Arjuna, which means that I still have to discern what
Yeah, so discernment is in there, and you can still have compassion. It doesn't mean you say yes to your enemy. It doesn't mean that you say yes to allowing someone to hurt you or intrude on your boundaries. But you can still have compassion. And are we practicing compassion? Are we being open-hearted? Are we being open-minded? And this is that where the brain wants to go in, and this is the ego mind wanting to go into that small, narrow thing. And then the heart is the big open. So look at the bigger picture, and
Maybe a better word would be resentment.
than
If you
hate.
walk into the circle with carrying resentment, you're going to affect everything.
Yeah, so they asked, where do you draw your line on compassion? To explore that. And that's like a come to Jesus moment. It's like, oh yeah, I've done that. They even talked about, okay, does this hate connect you to your love? And then they talked about Gandhi's letter to Hitler. I didn't know this, but Gandhi wrote a letter, I think more than one letter to Hitler, but they never made it because the stupid British government intercepted them. But he wrote letters to Hitler, trying to have a lot of compassion and obviously trying to get him to understand that there was another way to do this, and trying to have compassion for him, but letters never made it. Anyway, they brought that up. I thought that was interesting. You are adding to the collective. And so then they gave us a process where you do the pause, you breathe into your heart and you go through it, and you pick a situation, like a conflict, a person, a town, to pick a conflict and radiate compassion and care into the field. Why don't we end on that, you guys?
Yeah.
That's like a good net of light type of thing.
Yeah,
So,
very much so. No, we person.
yeah, I will after.
Oh,
So yeah, let's go into our heart, and we're gonna kind of do a global global one here. But first, come into this is like a what do they call that meditation? It's the kindness meditation.
Metta.
So
No.
thank you, Meta. Thank you. Exactly. So breathe into your heart. And just find that stillness. Find that presence. And let your consciousness drop all the way down into the center of that stillness and that presence in the heart of your heart. Allow your breath slow down. And lengthen. Breathe in love, compassion, care. Let it clear everything out. And as you exhale, imagine bathing every cell in your body with love, compassion, and care. You're breathing it in. And as you exhale, you're bathing every cell in your body with love, compassion, care. Now allow yourself to bring into your field of conflict something that needs healing in your life. Allow it to be surrounded and enveloped by love, compassion, and care. Imagine that you could hold it with neutrality and simply send it that high vibration, inviting healing. Now with your next breath, gently blow it away with a gentle breath and allow it to dissolve and to be reabsorbed into the field of compassion, love, care. And you release your attraction to it. You release your attachment to it. Now I want you to get focused on the field of all of us here. Anna, Molly, Jim, Maureen, Boris, Paulina, Happy, Laura, Laura, Jessica. All of us intending to generate a field of compassion, love, and care. Breathing into that. Falling into this beautiful high vibration that we are generating. I want you to imagine this beautiful field that we are sending out ripples and waves out into the greater field that surrounds us, out into the community, out into our geographic area, out beyond borders. That we are sending our good intentions to the earth itself, the plants, animals, sending them all a blessing. Now, sending that compassion, that love, and that care, not only to your loved ones, but to strangers, to those who are suffering. We're seeing and feeling and experiencing our vibration meeting with the bigger field and affecting the field that surrounds those who suffer and those who we love, so that they're experiencing more harmony and peace. We're bringing order to some of the chaos of this suffering. And now extend that care, that love, that compassion out to those who are causing the chaos, who are the perpetrators. That we could reach out and bring a peaceful field to surround them. We're bringing all the good on the planet to outweigh the dysfunction. As we do this work, our energies join with all of the other energies on the earth that are doing the same thing, healing the planet, joining together, creating a solid, integrated coherent field for healing, for love and prosperity, for harmony. We are elevating the consciousness of humanity on this planet every time we do this work. Imagine the whole world and just see that field surrounding the world, see your part in it. See your field intersecting with that greater field, and know that you are making a difference. You are connected to it all. And ending this meditation with so much gratitude. Just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. As we all take some more energetic breaths and come back to the room. So it looks like I went over a few minutes, but I want to thank you all for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.